what I'd like to do is get to your questions. And before I do that, I have one question here that came came two different times. Do you see this book here? This is the 1936 edition, 1936, that's what this is, of the four Gospels. Lamsa translated the four Gospels in 1934. And then this is just Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And this is the only thing he had. And in 36, he published his commentary on the Gospel Light in 1936. But this is here. So I got something in the mail. Someone sent to me because Lamsa had written in this book, and I don't want to tell you who sent this to me, but anyway, I want to answer his questions here. And he wanted to know, what did Lamsa say? Because it was written in Aramaic. So I wrote and told him what Lamsa said there and how he signed it. He signed it in his name, but in Aramaic. And he put in the year, and he had the same book that I had, only this is 1936. But the one that this person had was 1937. So in Aramaic, he put in there the date of 1937 in Aramaic under his name, which was also in Aramaic. And so I answered that for him. But he has two other questions in here. He says, I would also like to know about the Yah symbol. You know what the Yah symbol is? The Y-A-H. Let me have it. Oh, I thought I had my book here.
Right behind you, Rabbi, too.
Oh, yeah, right behind me. That's the Yah symbol right there. And I also have it on the books here. That's the Yah symbol also. But it's the alphabet of Aramaic. The first letter is a Y. The second letter is an H. And we say a Yod and a Hey. Now, the three dots were added by scribes, which meant God in three kanome. And kanome means more than just persons. It means manifestation as Father, Son, and Spirit, or mind, wisdom, and life. That's what the three dots were. And the one dot here is just when they came down making the hay, they lifted the pen and it would make a dot there. So that's how they got this. The scribes, Christian scribes, is the one who created this term Yah. But where does it come from? It comes from the 6th chapter of Exodus, where God speaks to Moses and tells him in the vision that Moses was having that Abraham did not know God by the name of Yahweh, that he knew God by the name of El Shaddai or Shaddai and other names, but not Yahweh. So the scribes used this for the symbol, and I'm giving you the history of it. The Christian scribes started using the name of God, the abbreviated form, Yah, Y-A-H. That's why so many Hebrew names end with A-H, or it'll end with the word E-L, El, Daniel, or Daniel. E-L, that's God. And Isaiah, you hear the Yah, Isaiah? That's for Yahweh. So they like to put all their names in the name of God or God itself, E-L. And so this is I'm giving you, this is the question he asked here. How back in history can we be traced? So I just told you that, how it came into pass. The second question is, I have just obtained Dr. Lamsa's Old Testament Light. That's the commentary on the entire Bible. It's almost 1,000 pages. I am surprised, confused, and somewhat disappointed in finding that it is a commentary on the King James Version and not on his Holy Bible from the ancient Eastern manuscripts. What am I missing here? Okay, what you're missing, what Lamsa did when he started to do these commentaries, and that is he wanted to use the King James so that when he wrote the commentary, when there was a difference, he could show you the difference between Aramaic and the King James, and then he would explain, because regardless of whether he's using King James or he's using Aramaic, doesn't make any difference. He wanted to use the King James to show the difference in the English translation. He didn't do it all the way through. When I redid his commentaries, that's what I have here. When I redid, and that's I have 6 commentaries now on the Old Testament, and when I redid them, I added more of the Aramaic in there and some of the things that he and I worked on together. And I took out some things that were mistakes, and I corrected also some of the English, because no one else could do it but except Lamza himself. So I did all that. And he always wanted to have, instead of all in one book, like the Old Testament Light, he wanted to have it all in separate. So I fulfilled his dream. What you see here is his dream, what he wanted. And I fulfilled it for him and put it all in separate. I would have liked to even added more scriptures in there that he and I didn't work on together. I did put in some, but otherwise I would have made it too much. So there's more material in here and deeper material, and I took out some of the mistakes that were in there. And I'm not talking about typos, because all books have typo mistakes. I'm talking about actual mistakes. He didn't catch it when he was doing the galleys. So this is why he used the King James. He's still explaining the scripture, regardless of whether, if he put his scriptures up there, he didn't use his scriptures because you wouldn't see the contrast. And what I also did is I also put the Aramaic words in here and into the English rendering of the Aramaic words. And when there were several meanings, I also put that in there. I added all that more to make this deeper, that he wanted to go deeper and deeper, but he passed on even before we could finish all of this. And I've had it for years until I finally decided to go ahead and do it. I had to get Nina's permission, which I did. And because she was there when Lamza and I were working on it together, and she brought us food every day. I flew clear up into Northern California, and I was there in Turlock, and she rented a place for Dr. Lamza and I to work, and we worked there. And this is how these books were born. It's further light. And some of the things in the Old Testament light are not complete. And this is why I did this. And this is all what Lamza wanted, and he got it. So, but he never got to see it because he passed on right on my birthday in September. This is the month Dr. Lamza made his transition, September 22nd, right on my birthday, on September 22nd. And this, I wish, if he can see by spirit, he sees what I've done here. And I had to put my name on it to protect it under the copyright laws. Otherwise, because he had passed on and there would be no protection. So I had to put my name on all of it. But it's both of us together that we did this, especially on the Old Testament and on the New Testament too. I added a lot more material. At least half of Matthew is not there in his gospel life. I put more in there that he wanted in there, but we never got to finish all of that. But I knew it anyway. I had it. I had all the material. So I was able to do that and to build in it. So that's why he used King James Version in the Old Testament light. Okay, I have one other question here, and then I'll look to see what I have on the board there. We got this question about Sodom and Gomorrah. I read in the Samuel narrative, but I'm not sure about Lot's story because my scriptures doesn't indicate the angels went to Lot in a dream. Could someone kindly explain why the doctor, referring to me, believes it was a dream? Okay, good question. Excellent question. When we talk about the episode that Lot had, it was his vision, his dream. dreams are visions. You don't realize that, but they are. Some of them are divine, spiritual visions, and some of them are just regular dreams, like you're flying in the air somewhere, or on a plane, or in a car, or just your own body and you're flying in the air. So those are altered states of your consciousness. And this is why you can suspend the natural laws and you can fly in the air without a plane in your dream. Or you can do many things in your dream you normally can't do because you're in an altered state of consciousness. So, because you're asleep and consciousness goes into other avenues. So here, Lot is the very fact that two angels visited him, two messengers visited him, means he's in an altered state of consciousness, whether he's asleep or whether he's taking an afternoon nap or whatever it is, which they do in the Near East, and they close for several hours, and this is what they do. And Abraham, lots of his visions, when God visited him and he served God and the two messengers and served them yogurt and stuff like that to eat. This is all in his vision. You think God eats yogurt? You think God eats buttermilk? You think God is spirit. He's not a human being. He's spirit. This is how we know that when Lot saw those messengers and the messengers protected him in the house, and he blinded those men who wanted to rape the messengers. They wanted to come and rape them, not because they were gay. They wanted to rape them to humiliate them and put them down. We misunderstand that story of Sodom and Gomorrah. The people of Sodom and Gomorrah, especially the rulers and they were not friendly people. They did not follow the natural ways of the Near Eastern people of being open to your house and all that kind of stuff. They were the opposite of it. And that's why you couldn't write anything more disgraceful or find anything more disgraceful than wanting to rape messengers from God. So this is what he's seeing in it. And this is why it's explaining why Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed. And he wanted Lot to get out of there. And that's why the messengers came in his vision. He knew he had to escape with his wife. Do you know they didn't believe him? If you read the scriptures, when he went and told them, his sons-in-law and others, you read the scriptures, read the whole thing. It says he went and told them. They didn't accept him. And he and his two daughters and his wife fled out of Sodom and Gomorrah. And when it says, and the Lord appeared unto Moses, the minute the word ethgli is Aramaic, and that means to come by revelation. Come by revelation. In other words, he's in an altered state and he sees this bush on fire. I'm talking about Moses now. Because he's in that altered state. It doesn't say he was in a vision. It just says he saw this bush on fire and he went to see what was going on. But this was in his vision. It did not occur literally in the actual physical world. It's occurring in another state of consciousness and awareness. And that's how you have to understand how the visions come. I was healed by two angels when they came to me in my altered state. I had a duodenal ulcer, and I just got checked by the doctor, Dr. Alvin Thagard, who x-rayed me in there. This was in San Antonio, Texas, in the Baptist Memorial Hospital, right in Dr. Alvin Thagard's office, and they x-rayed me. I had to drink that barium, and I had these ulcers in me. And they said, you're going to change your diet, all this. I was a young minister then, and co-pastoring in Calvary Missionary Church. And here, that night, those two angels visited me and told me things about certain things in the congregation that was going to happen to certain people. They told me this in my vision. And what had happened is they said, to prove to you that we visited you, we're going to heal your ulcer. And they touched me, and I got really sick. And I woke up from my dream. And my wife was surprised because she was laying in bed right next to me. She says, what's going on? I said, I thought I was going to regurgitate. I said, two angels visit me, and I told her everything. She says, you're going to call Dr. Thagard in the morning and get another x-ray to see what's going on in there. And I did. I called him, told him about my dream. He says, come on up, I'll x-ray you. Because he was the top man for all the Southwest. He was the top radiologist in the Southwest. And so he says, come on. And I did. And they took it. And he says, you have nothing but scar tissue there. You're totally healed. They did visited you. You've got to understand how, when you read these things, even though it doesn't say vision, even though it doesn't say dream, you have to realize that's how it's coming, because God is spirit. God is not a man. Sometimes you can be wide awake and the image gets superimposed in front of you right there, right in front of you. You don't even have to be asleep. You can be wide awake and these visions will come. And the prophets knew how to do that all the time. I don't have time to teach you about how this works in our mind. In the spiritual mind, we have a spiritual mind. And so that answers that question. That's why you won't find, and it's not in Samuel, it's in Genesis. The story is in Genesis, not in Samuel. Okay, that answers that question. Let me see what other questions I have here. All right. Could you please explain Jesus' ascension into heaven? Yeah, it's the same thing. I'm just explaining it to you. It was a group vision, seeing Jesus ascend into heaven. They had to see that. But it was in an altered state. Other people there wouldn't have seen anything, nothing. It was only those whose minds were wide open to it. Yes, that can occur. Okay. Is Jesus the Lion of Judah? You know, if you read the scriptures, if you read the book of the Revelation, that talks about the Lion of Judah. So the Revelator goes to see the lion. But what does he see? Doesn't see a lion at all. What does he see? He sees a lamb. Jesus does not represent a political. The Lion of the tribe of Judah meant a political leader, And Jesus was not a political leader. He was a spiritual leader. He was after the hearts and minds and souls of people to understand that we are more than physical, that we are more than material, and understanding how we can find God here and now. He was the spiritual Lion of the tribe of Judah, not the political Lion of the tribe. But that's why in the book of the Revelation, when he went to see the lion, it turned out to be a lamb. Meekness instead of a fighter. They expected the Messiah to be a militant leader, and he was just the opposite. And people are still expecting Jesus to come back as a militant leader, and he's not going to do it. He'll never do it. From 1,000,000 years from now, he'll never do that. Never come back that. I don't care how you interpret scriptures. He will never do that. He would go against everything that he ever taught when he came here physically. So you got to realize that. Okay, next one. Westerners will say they are Christians. What do Easterners say? What? Westerners say they are Christians. What do Easterners say? No, this name was given to them. If you read the book of Acts, the term Christians was given to them when the movement moved up into Syria, when they were in Syria and in Antioch. In fact, a great big school was established right there in Antioch. And then it went into the east. We're also at Edessa, which today is owned by Turkey because it's called Urfa, another Aramaic school. So there was an Aramaic school established in Antioch and an Aramaic school established in Urfa. That's the modern name. The ancient name is Edessa. And this is when they saw them, they said, oh, these people are followers of Christ. So they called them Christians because they followed the Christ, but actually the word there should be Mashiach, the followers of the Mashiach, because they became anointed. These people became anointed by following Jesus' teachings, but they were the followers of Jesus. The word Christ and Christian comes from the Greek term Christos, and Christians, as they just made it plural from the Greek, and that's how come we use the term Christians. But that started in Antioch. You'll find it right there in the book of Acts, when the whole movement went into Antioch and how they got the name Christians. That's what the people call them. Though they're followers of the Christ, that's how they got the name. But they used the Greek term instead of the Aramaic term. All right, let's go to the next one. So it is correct to think that all the stories about plagues were created because someone had to be blamed? Yes, that's how they thought. God did it. And Moses, let me tell you, there's more to it than just the plagues. I can't teach you the whole Bible in just this short time I have with you here. I would have to take you to the book of Exodus. I would have to take you to Moses, and I would have to take you how he was trained in certain things when he was in Egypt, how he learned certain things, how he learned to produce certain things, and he fell back on that. And this is what he used. And the plagues, the plagues were real. The plagues did come, but he knew when they were coming, and he knew when they would disappear. And then again, when the final plague, the last plague, which made Pharaoh release Moses and the people to go worship God in the desert, get the commentaries. That'll explain all of that. You see, I can't do it all in a short time because I would be doing a disservice for your understanding and a disservice for me for not explaining it well enough. So it takes time to do all those. These are not simple questions. I would have to go into depth with it, and I don't have time for the depth. Okay, I think that takes care of all the questions. Are there any more? Uh-huh. All right. They're all good questions. And you can see the depth. I'm only with you once a week, and now and only Hanny's with you once a week. And you can't get it all like that snap, snap, snap. It's hard. It's going to take time. You have to grow in it. You have to mature in it. When I was working with Dr. Lemons, don't forget, I was full of everything that I had learned from scholars, from the Bible training, all of that. But I knew in my heart that something had to change, that this was not right the way we were teaching the scriptures. And when I found Rabbi Lamza, I found heaven. I found heaven. Yes, and that's what this Aramaic light has to offer us. It gives us heaven and understanding where you're not afraid of God, but you understand what God is and how much he's a part of you and how much he is a part of this world, but not in the sense that the world wants to put him in or our doctrines want to put him in. Nah, he's beyond all of that. God is, as Jesus said, Allah Ruha. God is spirit. Allah Hubba. God is love. Spirit, love. And I like what one psychiatrist told me. He calls God love intelligence. Love intelligence. And that's what God is in us. Love intelligence. It's the intelligence of love that is in our hearts, minds, and souls, but we're asleep to it and don't realize the fullness and power of it. This is why I get so excited when I speak. I talk with this excitement because I sense this, I feel it, and I like for others to feel it and sense it and know how much God has totally become a part of us. This is wonderful. Well, thank you. I know that the hour is gone now. I love you. Thank you. And I appreciate you sending in offerings to help this stay on the air. And plus the new stuff I'm putting on YouTube. I'm not going to put this stuff anymore on YouTube. I want only the question session to be put on YouTube. And also, I'm doing new ones all the time, just answering questions, because it's time. There are people out there who are hungry, and I know that God will bring them in. As Jesus said, he knows his sheep. He knows his sheep and those who are not of his sheep, and then they don't want to hear it. I love the invitation, and I'm going to close with this. The invitation that's in the book of the Revelation, at the close of the book of the Revelation. I love it. I love it. It's a short statement, but it's beautiful. And if I can find it right here, I think it's in the last chapter. And he says, he showed me a pure river and all of this. And he said, blessed are those who do these commandments, but that's not the one I want. I want the one that says, he who is thirsty, let him come and drink. He that is hungry, let him come and eat. The invitation are to those who are hungry and who are thirsty. Jesus said this himself. Blissful are those who hunger and thirst for kenutha, for they shall be well satisfied. Thank you. Bless you. And Hanny will see you next week.